Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic and the return of the wonderful Eudikos to the channel. Eudikos was behind one of our most popular Sudoku hunts a couple of months ago, and frankly he never makes a dud puzzle. Indeed, this one's been recommended to us a couple of times already as being particularly brilliant. It's called Third Time's the Charm, and I don't know why, but hopefully we'll find out. Before we get started with the rules, just if you enjoy the content, do slap that like button now. Maybe leave a kind comment or subscribe or become a patron on Patreon or even get the apps. You know the drill. And now, with that all said, let's read the rules. We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. The digits on an arrow add up to the digit in the corresponding circle. Numbers may repeat along an arrow. And each marked main diagonal cannot have a repeated digit, i.e. each contains every number from 1 to 9 exactly once. And that is the whole caboodle. That's all we get. From that, apparently, we can just fill in this puzzle with a unique solution. That's exactly what I'm going to try to do. Do have a go yourselves. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the first thing my eyes are drawn to is that arrow. That is definitely 3 cells, so we know that each of those digits individually couldn't be less. Well, we couldn't make those 3 cells less than 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3 add up to 6, so that arrow has to be at least equal to 6. And in fact, that one, although it didn't catch my eye immediately, is the same length, so that one also has that property. Let's make sure we include the 7. That one as well, in fact. Gosh, these arrows, I don't know why, but for some reason in my brain that one looks the longest. Now the other thing I can see, actually 1, 2, 3, yes, okay. This used to be quite an advanced trick in Arrow Sudoku, but with where Arrow Sudoku's been taken in recent weeks and months, it's no longer quite so advanced. You can see these 5 cells in box 3 are all on 2 arrows. So the minimum we could put into the 5 cells together would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And if you add up 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you get 15. So that means those circles must add up to at least 15, which means individually they must be at least 6 in the circle. Because we could make 6 and 9 obviously add up to 15. And I can see the same thing is going on in box 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one is also 6, 7, 8 or 9. Now, what next, I hear you ask? The answer, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. We can... it's much less potent, look, in box 9. Although we've got 4 cells there that have to be on arrows, the minimum we could make those add up to, 1, 2, 3 and 4, is 10. So we know very little about either of these arrows, or circles I should say. So, what do we do next? Maybe I've got to use the diagonals. Ah, yes. Okay, I like that thought, because... yes, right. What I should have spotted immediately, but didn't, is that the arrows in boxes 3 and box 7 are not on the diagonals. So that's probably going to mean we have to put low digits in those 3 squares, because, let's think about this. The maximum size I could make those 2 squares is double 9, I think. Is there a reason that can't be double 9? No, I don't think there is. So if this is double 9, that's 18 is the maximum I can put onto those squares in box 7. Now that means they have to have a 1 and a 2 on them. How do we know this? Well, let's try and add up these arrows to as small a digit as we can without using a 1. So we could make them 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Well, that adds up to 20. There's a quick way of doing this, which is how I know it's got a 1 and a 2 on the arrow, and that's learning your triangular numbers. So if you know that the triangular number for 6 is 21, which I do, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 21, then you know the minimum you can make 5 digits add up to if you miss out the 1 is you're missing out 1 from the 21 total, so it's 20. If you miss out a 2 from these squares, if we change that to a 1, we know that this must add up to 19. We know that that's too high for those 2 circles. So we know, I think, that there is a 1 and a 2 on those arrows, which means we better get rid of those 9s. Now we could have a 3 because it's possible to make 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6, for example, add up, well, indeed, that would be the example, add up to 18, which would allow double 9 on these arrows. So we can't assume there's a 3 there. And presumably we've got the same up here. Yes, we do. Yeah, lovely. Okay. Those squares have exactly the same property. They must have 1s and 2s on them. Now we know there's a 1 and a 2 in the central box on this diagonal, because we've not managed to put 1 and 2 on this diagonal. We can't put them in those squares, so they must go in those squares. And I feel we're making some sort of progress here. Now, I don't know why I said that. That was silly, because now I'll probably get stuck. Okay, so what do we now know, if we know anything indeed? I don't know how. We've now got to. It feels to me like it's very difficult to put 9 into box 3. I've not checked box 7 yet, but box 3. So 9 is either on the diagonal. 9 can never be on an arrow, obviously, because we can't put 10 into these squares. So 9 is not in those 5 squares. 9 is in one of those 4 squares, which means it's either on the diagonal or it's in that square. And it must be similar logic down here. It is. Oh, okay. So 9 is either in the circle, the short stubby circle, or it's on the diagonal. So if it's on the diagonal in either of these boxes, it moves into the stubby circle in the other box. Is there anything wrong with it being in 2 stubby circles, though? If it's on 2 stubby circles, if the 9 in each of these boxes is in the circle, you get 9s here. You've got to now put a 9, in fact, there in the middle of the grid, because there's not been a 9 on the diagonal yet. So the 9 would have to go in one of these 3 squares, and it would have to go there. That would give us a 1-2 pair, and I feel like we're sort of in the road towards bifurcation here, which I don't like doing. Is there some reason that this doesn't work that's a bit more clear? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing it. So I think I've got to abandon that line of thinking, at least pro tem. So I'm not sure where 9 goes. 8, annoyingly, could be on an arrow, because I could put the 8 on the 2-cell arrow along with a 1 and make it equal 9. So I don't think 8 is nearly as restricted. It feels like the key is to work out whatever the last digit is. I know there's a 1 and a 2 on this diagonal. Let's imagine there's another digit. Let's imagine there's a 5. So the 5 is either in the circle or it's on the arrow in both boxes. So that's true, isn't it? That's a universal truth. whatever the last digit is in this triple is either on an arrow or in the circle in both box 7 and box 3. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean anything in any way intelligent? Let me just think about this for a second. Is that telling me something that I didn't know already? And huge apologies, as always, if some of you out there are shouting at your screens at how dim I'm being. I know that whatever the last digit is on these 3 squares, it feels important. That's why I'm labouring it, because it feels like it matters to me. Has to either go on an arrow or it has to be in a circle. So yeah, okay. There's something here. There is. I just can't quite get my head around it. It's to do with... It's to do with repeated digits, I think, in these cells. Yeah, okay. Let's think about it a different way. That's peculiar. Right, okay. Let's think about this slightly differently. If we... 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's very peculiar. Right, okay, I'm going to look at it like this. What are those digits? Well, they're 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9. For sure, in the completed solution. We know that fact. But, therefore, if I wanted to remove those 3 squares and those 3 squares from one of those sets of the digits 1 to 9, remember that the purple squares are 2 complete sets of the digits 1 to 9. So if I remove those 6 cells from one of those sets of the digits 1 to 9, what in that set would I be left with? Well, clearly I would be left with those 3 squares, because those 3 squares would be the ones left in that set if I remove the other 6 cells on the diagonal. We know that the diagonal represents a complete set of the digits 1 to 9. So now we can say that there's a relationship between the greens and the purples, and that is that the greens are equal, or the greens plus one set of the digits 1 to 9 equal the purples. And I think that's what I've been feeling my way towards without being able to articulate it quite as clearly as I now can see it. So how do I use that to my advantage? So the final digit here. Yes, I see. I see what you're doing here. This is evil, absolutely evil, and quite... It's incredibly clever, I think. It may be too clever for me, but I think I have an idea now as to what's going on. I may be wrong, but is it the case that... Yes, it's all about the circles, isn't it? It's all about the circles this time. It's not about the colours, it's about the circles. Because if we think about the purples, we could represent the purples slightly differently. I could delete those squares from the purples and replace them with those squares, because we know that those 5 cells there equal those squares. So those squares, these 3 squares together, and the same thing must be true down here. Let's get rid of the arrow cells and replace them with the purple cells. Now we have something very interesting, because now the purple cells are equal to the green cells plus 45, because we know from the set theory we did a few minutes ago that the greens plus one set of the digits 1 to 9 were equal to the purples. Now one set of the digits 1 to 9 is equal, if you add it up, this is the secret, I only tell my favourite people this, equal to 45. So now we've turned this into a maths question, I think, because now these 3 squares, we know that they are going to equal to 3, at least they're going to equal at least 6. So those are at least 6. 6 plus 45 is 51. I need to make sure the purples add to at least 51. And that is a remarkably high total for 6 digits. Now, is it too high? Have I made a mistake here? Because you can see that the average is 8.5, which implies I'm going to have a lot of 9s and 8s here, which would be lovely. So in fact, that's quite an interesting way of looking at it. What's the absolute maximum I could make those 3 squares add up to individually? Just look at those 3 squares. What I can't do is put 3 9s into those 3 squares. That won't work, because these 2 squares always have to be different. So the maximum I can make those squares add up to is 2 9s and an 8. And the same is true here. So overall, the maximum you can make the purples add up to is 4 9s and 2 8s, which is 36, 52. Whoa, now we're closing in. Right, so the maximum the purples can be is 52, and that's if I max them out. We know that the minimum they have to add up to is 51, so that the third man, the third digit accompanying its friends the 1 and the 2 here, is a 3 or a 4. It can't be any higher. So maybe I should notate that actually. I can do that to notate that. So now... Right. Oh, this is just lovely. I love this. You can whittle away. I keep whittling away at these totals. Now I'm going to think about those 2. Now, I think earlier on I thought about whether or not they could both be 9. Well, they can't now, because if they're both 9, I've got to put 9 in one of those squares, and that will break the puzzle, because the arithmetic tells us I can't put higher than a 4 in these 3 squares. So you can't make those 2 squares double 9. Now, how much can you reduce them by? Is it possible... You can't reduce them very much at all. Yeah, because I've only got... no, I've got to be careful here. I was about to say... I can't reduce them by 2, though. If I put double 8 in there, surely I've taken 2 off the maximum. Oh no, because I could put the 9s all there. Oh, bobbins. Ah. Is that true? No, that's not true. Well, it might have been true, but it still doesn't work. You can't put 9s into all 4 of those squares, because if you do, where does the 9 go in box 5? It goes there, and that breaks the arithmetic again. So those squares there, which can't be double 9, and can't be double 8 because it removes too many degrees of freedom, because then I can't put 4 9s in there, have to be an 8-9 pair. I'm not totally sure I'm comfortable with that though. I got that right. I'm not sure I have actually, because I think I was that's working off the basis that those are 52. 52 was the maximum, which was 4 9s and 2 8s. So if I did go double 8 here, I don't have to go 4 9s. I could go 3 9s and an 8, can't I? Bobbins. Oh, sorry, ignore everything I've been saying. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Oh, but I can't go double 8 there because I've got the same problem. Ah! Yes. So if I go double 8, I've now got to put 8 on that diagonal, which won't work. So can I now conclude there is definitely a 9 in one of those cells? It's not double 9. If there's no 9, it can't be double 8, so it would have to be 8 and 7. And that would have reduced the total. So then I'd have 15. I would need 4 9s in these squares to get to 36 to make 51, which is the absolute minimum. I can't do that because if I put 4 9s into those squares, that square becomes a 9. And it can't be. It has to be a 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good grief. I'm quite sure that there is an lot more elegant way of thinking about this, but I'm just having to do it my way. So you'll have to bear with me. So now I know that I know there's a 9 in one of those. That's as far as I've got. I know there's a 9 in one of those squares. Oh dear. Okay. That feels a lot of effort to prove that. There's a 9 in one of them, but not both of them. Can you ever have a 6 in these squares anymore? Surely you can't. I'm using up far too many degrees of freedom if I put a 6 into one of them. 6. God, it's really difficult to keep track of this. 9 and 8 would be the maximum I could put in those squares. That's 17. 23 if I put a 6 in there. Yes, and 3 9s is not high enough. It only gets you to 50 and I need to get to 51. Right, good. I can get rid of 6 at least from all of those squares. Now, so there's a 9 in one of these along with something. I don't know what. I'm going to need to put some 9s in these. I can't put 4 9s in there because that's going to put a 9 in the middle. Can I put 3 9s in here? I think I can. How on earth do I work out whether or not I can have 3 9s in those squares? Oh, actually that's an interesting thought. Because I've worked out there's a 9 in one of these two. Actually, maybe I should label those up differently. I'll label those a different colour. There must be a 9 in an orange. Now, whichever one of these is a 9, it's affecting where I could put my 3 9s in the purples. So if this was a 9, now I can't put a 9 here, so those 3 would have to be 9s. Now, is there anything wrong with that? Oh, this is so this is mind-blowingly clever. The short stubby arrow is rather important, look. It's going to be symmetrical. Oh, this is so clever, it's ridiculous. Now, this gives us the same problem. Now I've got 4 9s all looking at box 5. So I have to put the 9 here, where it can't go. So, can I... And if this is the 9, on the other hand, and I try and put 3 9s in, they'd have to be those 3 9s. It's going to be the same. This 9 gets reflected there, and now these 9s are all looking at the middle again, forcing the 9 here where it can't go. So there are not 3 9s in these squares, which means there can only be 2 9s, which means that the maximum number of 9s in the purples plus the orange is 3, which is 27. So the other 3 squares have to get to at least 24 to get to 51, and they can't be 9s, so they all have to be 8s. That is really, really, I mean, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, go away. I want to get rid of that one. So now, yeah, now we know that everything is an 8 9. But we don't know more than that, I don't think. So we know that these 6 cells are made. What we do know is, because we can't increase these anymore, because I couldn't include the 4th 9, the maximum, well, these squares do add up to 51, which means that the square that must accompany the 1 and the 2 here is a 3 and not a 4. So that gives us, I've still not got a digit, have I? I'm still not close to a digit, I suspect. So now there must be a 3 off the diagonal in both of those, both box 3 and box 7. That square, look, can't be an 8 or a 9. Yeah, this is going to be colouring now, is it? Well, I'm not sure about that, but that definitely can't be an 8 or a 9. This is a 6 or a 7, so there's definitely a 1 on that arrow now. And what does that mean? We've got, I don't know what it means. It means that, actually the other thing is, there's definitely a 2 on those arrows as well, because this is either going to be 1 2 3 or 1 2 4. So maybe I'm meant to do something with this box, perhaps. This is what I have to do, isn't it? This is quite stunning. Right, I'm going to get rid of the colouring for these 2 squares because I don't know what colour these are. But let's have a look at the colouring of these squares. This, oh, actually, hang on, this colouring might not be right. I don't know. I do know that obviously this, whatever this is not what this is. So these can be coloured. And I know whatever... in fact, this colouring is wrong. It's Wrogn. Because we know that we couldn't double 9 the circles. So those 2 squares are different colours. So in fact, I need to change this. That's going to be purple. That is going to be orange. There we go. Now these are different now. So now we know we've got an 8-9 pair here and an 8-9 pair here. Now the question is, what are these? And the answer is that we don't know, I think. I'm probably making myself look stupid there by saying that, but I don't think we know what these colours are, in the sense that we don't know whether they're purple or whether they're orange. But we do know they are different. I know this and this are not the same, because I know overall my circles are 3 9s and 3 8s. Well, that's a pair. That's a pair. So these must also be a pair. And these see these circles, which now cannot be 8 or 9 because they see both. And that means they have a maximum value of 6, 7. And I'm hoping that's going to do something with these arrows. I've got my first digit. I've got my first digit now, because if the maximum that these 4 squares can add up to is 13, what digit do we know they have in them? The answer is a 1. There must be a 1 in there, because 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 adds to 14. That's to 14. Nearly a slip of the tongue. Right, adds to 14. So, if there's a 1 in here, not on the diagonal, and there's a 1 in there, not on the diagonal, where does the 1 go on this diagonal? It must be in one of those 3 squares, and the only option is this one, and we have a digit. And that is a hard 1 digit, let me tell you. Now, this is just stunning. It's so clever. 2s are now not on the diagonal here or here. So 2 is on the diagonal here. And now, how do we make those squares add up to a maximum of 13? Well, the minimum we could put into these squares is 1, 3, 4 and 5, which add up to 13. So these have to be a 6, 7 pair, and these have to be a 1, 3, 4, 5 quadruple. And now, well, now 3 all of a sudden is interesting, isn't it? Because 3 is now off the diagonal in both box 5 and box 9. So 3 is on the diagonal here. Oh, that's lovely. That gives us this digit. Because this can't be a 1, 2, 3 triple, because the 3 is on the diagonal, not on the arrow. So this must be 1, 2, 4, I think, which means that those squares means that square is 7. Which means that, let's keep going with this logic. 4 is now off the diagonal here, not in those squares. It's off the diagonal here, so it's not in those squares. So there's a 4 in one of these squares. And, okay. And now we can pause for breath and admire. I mean, this is just a work of genius, frankly. I mean, how you go about setting something like this, I have not got a clue. Actually, I should say, Udakos, if you want to make a video explaining how you set this, please do it. We would be delighted to host it. Now, what do we do next? The answer is, I don't know. Okay. I really don't know, actually. There must be some way of using some of this new information to our advantage. 7 in the central box, look, has to be in one of 2 places. Seven. Can't see much else going on. I've got some 8, 9 pairs. Maybe I should look at those more carefully. Wow. I mean, it still doesn't look to me like there's enough information to finish this. I've got oh no, don't get stuck now, Simon. Sorry about this. I'm really... Is it 8s and 9s? Can I actually do something with those? Orange has to be in one of those two. Oh, I can. Oh, right. Okay, good. One of those two squares is orange, just using Sudoku. And orange mean I have to put an orange in one of those squares. And look, this is a 3-cell arrow. I could never put an 8 or a 9 on a 3-cell arrow. Obviously, I can't put 9 on it, but I can't put 8 on it either. So that square is orange. Oh, you know what I could do? I could not be a Wally. That is purple, and therefore it's on a stubby arrow, so that's purple. I'll do the same thing here. That must be orange. Everything I get here is worth thinking about. Now orange is in one of those two squares. So we've got sort of symmetrical oranges at opposite ends of the grid. Ooh! I've got 7 in the middle box, all of it out of nowhere, because I've got an 8-9 pair there and an 8-9 pair there. So those squares are an 8-9 pair. I might not know the colours yet, but I know this square is not a 7 anymore. So that square is a 7. So 7 lives in one of those 3 squares in box 2. Now I've got interesting stuff going on with 8s and 9s. Look at those 8s and 9s. These are 8s and 9s we don't know the colour of until we get those colours. But now I've got more 8-9 pairs than I had before. Okay. Not sure. Oh, I forgot to put my phone on silent. That's always potential for annoyance. Let me just do that. Hopefully it'll allow my brain to percolate as well, and I'll come up with some more logic. How do I do this? Like that. Right, sorry. Now, purple is in one of those 3. Oh, have I not got multi-colour? Oh, it's because I'm on the new computer, isn't it? I was expecting that to look multicoloured. Sorry, I'm not sure I'm going to have access to multicolours today. Purple is in one of those 3. I don't think that's going to be terribly useful. Okay. What do we do now? Purple on the diagonals. Purple on this diagonal actually is interesting because it can't go there and it can't go here or here. Or, good grief, right, okay. Where do 8 and 9 go on this diagonal? That is a good question. And the answer is only in 2 positions, because this square can't be 8 or 9, it sees both. That square sees them horizontally. This sees them in the box. This sees them vertically. This sees them vertically. So I think only those 2 squares can be 8s and 9s. So that one can't be a 3. So maybe I'll turn those blue. I don't think we know the colour. These oranges are going to mislead me, so I'm going to get rid of those now because I can't make this orange and blue at the same time. Now, what does that mean? The answer is I do not know. So in this box, I've got 1, 8, 9 here. Do I know where the other one goes? I've got a horrible feeling I know loads of stuff about this puzzle. I'm just not understanding it quite right. Purple on the other diagonal. Purple on this diagonal is a little bit restricted, look, by this purple. It's got to be in one of those 2 positions. It's not there. These two squares can't be the same digit. They must be different. So this square can't be an 8 or a 9. And that means, where does purple go on this diagonal? Only here. Ooh. This is not a straightforward puzzle. Now, beautiful. So now that square's got to be an 8 or a 9 in box 1. Don't think I know the colour of it. Now I've got an awful lot of... Yes, look at box 9 now. I've got an 8-9 pair here, loads of 8-9 pairs up there. So this square is an 8-9. Again, don't think we know the colour of it. I've not got 8s and 9s in column 5. And there's only 2 positions that can be 8s and 9s in column 5, and that is the extremities. So there we go. We've now basically placed, well, we haven't placed them very well, but I've sort of earmarked where all the 8s and 9s are in the grid, even if I've had to use 3 colours to do it. Now, is that going to be the key to the puzzle? I have not got a clue, actually. I have not got a clue if that's... What's that actually told me? I know what it's told me. Oh, this is so brilliant. The 7. Where does the 7 now live in this box? The answer is it... Oh no, I've made a mistake. No, I thought I could get the 7 because it couldn't be on the arrow, but it's not true. Oh no. Reverse gears. Reverse gears. If in doubt, look the other way. Let's look up here and ask where 7 is. 7 can't go in those squares. 7 is in one of those 2 squares. Now, I've gone from thinking the 7 was in one of these 2 squares to thinking it's definitely not there, but it is there. Because 7 is now in one of those 3 squares, and you can't put 7 on a 3-cell arrow, because you can't put double 1 on a 3-cell arrow, especially, well, you can't in this instance when all of the cells are in the same box of the Sudoku. So the 7 must go here. That's beautiful. That gets me that 7, and that's 6. That gets me a... Oh, look. Yes, that gets me 2 things. It gets me a 7 here by Sudoku, and a 2 here by the fact that we have to put a 2 in one of those 3 squares. There's no 2 up there anymore. No 2 here anymore. 7 is in one of those 2 squares by Sudoku. Right, now we should be able to work out... yeah, okay, there's only one way you can make 1, 3, 4 and 5 add up to 7, and that's using the 3 and the 4. So this must mean that this is a 1, 5 pair. So let's put that in. That gets rid of 1s from down there, look. It gets me a digit. Where does 6 go in this box now? It goes there. That's the only place it can go. 6. Now where does 6 go there? It's got to be in one of 3 places, I think. Can it be on the arrow? Gosh, I think it could actually be on both arrows. You know, it could be 6, 1, 2, making a 9 total. Oh, okay. So we get the 6. We get the 2, we get the 7. Can't put 7 on a 3. Is that useful? If you can't put 7 on the 3-cell arrow and you can't put 7 here by Sudoku, 7 has to be... yes, 7 is on this diagonal. 7 has to be on this arrow. Good lord. Which means 3 is not on the arrow. The only options for those squares is this is either a 7-1 pair or a 7-2 pair. I still don't know what orange is. But I know 7 is in one of those 2 squares, don't I? Let me just double check this. Why did I think that? 7 Yes, it's because it can't go on the 3-cell arrow or be on the diagonal. So it is forced here. So that is not a 7, and this is a 7. And now what do? We stare slowly at the puzzle and hope for inspiration. Okay. Now what do? Feel like maybe this diagonal, is this restricted? I've got 1, 2, 3. I've not, basically it's 4, 5 and 6 I've got to place, isn't it, in those squares. So let's pencil mark those in. I can see this can't be a 6. So 6 is locked into one of 2 places, I think. Which means, for example, that square couldn't be a 6, because that would lock 6 out of both of those positions. Okay, I don't know if that is what we're meant to do. Not sure. Sorry. If 6 was on this... Oh! Oh, yes! Yes! If 6 is on here, it's impossible to make this work. Because these 3 squares, the only way they could add up to 9 would be by being 6, 1 and 2. But that would make this impossible to fill. We know there's a 1 or a 2 on this arrow. So the 6 can't be there. So it's not on this arrow, so the 6 is here. Which means that's not 6. Now, that's just... Okay. I think I already knew there was no 6 here. I get 6 in this box by Sudoku. 6 must be in one of those 2 cells. So 6 is in one of these 3 squares. It's an incredible puzzle. It is incredible to me that this works. But I will say this is not easy. I anticipate a cacophony of comments telling me it was easier than I made it, but honestly, I feel like I've done quite a lot of decent stuff here today. I really hope I'll be able to get through to the end of this one. 4, 5 here. They're different, aren't they? So that means that square can't be 4 or 5. Oh, we knew it couldn't be 4. That square can't be 5. Does that help with anything? Well, I might as well mark it up, because it can't be... It's got to be 3 or 6. Oh no, hang on, the 3's on the diagonal. Is this a naked single? That's an incredible naked single, if so. So I can see... Yeah, why? Yeah, 3. Yes, 3 must be in one of those squares. So we can rule out of this square 1, 2, 3 and 4. We can rule 5 out using the diagonal trick. It can be 6, I think, and it can't be 7, it can't be 8 or 9. That is a 6. Wow. That is... Yes, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Because now where do I put 6 on this diagonal? The answer is only here. It's the only space it can go into. That gets me a 4, I think, because I had to put 4 on this diagonal. That gets me a 5 into that square. Now I've basically done this diagonal. I need 3 and... Ah, yes, 7 here. That's seeing that square. That's a 7. I probably could have done that a while ago. For that, you'll have to forgive me. That means I've got a 3, 5 here. And I can get rid of the 3 in the corner pencil marks. 3, 5 here. Okay, what am I seeing here? I'm seeing a bent triple there, I think, on 3, 4 and 5. Don't know if it's useful. 4, 3, 5. It means there's a 3 in one of these two squares. So let's look. That means there's no 3 in that square. Is that... Oh, it might be a tiny bit helpful. I will take it. If there's no... sorry. So just to explain what's happening there, if these 3 cells were all in a column or row, it'd be very obvious they were 3, 4, 5 triple. Here, they're just bent. Now that means if this is a 4, you have to put 3 here. If this is a 5, you have to put 3 here. So one of these two squares is forced to be a 3, and whichever one is a 3 will see that square by the power of Sudoku. So this can't be a 3. Now you can see, therefore, I think there has to be a 3 up here, and that is a lot of very hard logic for nothing, but I spotted it, so I thought I would mention it. So, what do we do next? We can... It would really be lovely if I could work out or fully colour the 8s and the 9s. That would feel amazing, I think. 2, 3, 5. There's probably an easy way of doing that, but I'm not spotting what it is. How many 7s have I got in the grid? Oh, I've just got this little X-wing of 7s left. 6s, I think, is similar there. I've got most. Oh no, hang on. I can get another 6 there. That's the 6 by Sudoku. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just left with this X-wing of 6s. One is a bit restricted in box 8 here. It's got to be in one of 2 places, look. Oh, right, okay, we can get 1. We can get 1 in this column. Because the 1 in box 7 here is not in those 2 squares. It's not in that square. So you can see the 1 is in one of 3 places. Now, where is it in this box? This one rules it out of those 3 squares, so it's in one of those 3 squares. So now, scan up column 2, you can see you can't put 1 in any of those 6 cells or those 2. So that's a 1. Oh, nearly. If I can get rid of 1 from here, we would know what this was. Hang on a second. Trying to work out what's going on. I don't know. Oh dear. Sorry about this. We got to... This row. Let's look at this row. I do have a lot. Oh, I've got 5 digits. I need 1, 2, 3 and 4 into these squares. Is there a way I can know which is which? I know there's a 1 or a 2 in those squares. The answer is, I think, I don't know. 6, 7, 1. That square. Can that be a 1? If that's a 1, I've got to put a huge digit in here. Because I've got to get to 8 or 9, and I can't put a huge digit in here. If this is 1, it's broken. This has to be a 7 or an 8, and it can be none of those digits. So that's not 1, which means that 1 in this box moves over here for certain, which means that's not a 1. Ah, I get the 1 in box 4 there. That means that's not a 1. 1 is in one of those 2 squares in box 6. Can we figure out something? If that's a 1, it's doing something down there. 1. What's it doing? Is it doing anything useful? Aha! Yes, it is. Good grief. Now this is not straightforward. Well, it's not too bad. Once you see this is, if you try a 1 here, you can see that you get a 1 pair here. Now that is instantly, it should be raising alarm bells, because this is a 3-cell arrow. And a 3-cell arrow that cannot contain a 1 must be 2, 3 and 4. So you have to put 2, 3 and 4 on this arrow now, because if you put anything higher, you'll get to 10, and you mustn't get to 10. So, but the problem here is in making this double 1 and forcing this to be a 2, 3, 4 arrow, you've made this a 5. And that 5, look where it's got to go in this box, over here somewhere, and therefore in one of those 2 squares in box 3. And that breaks the puzzle, because you cannot make, however hard you try, 3 digits add up to 8 or 9. If you can't use 1 and one of the digits is a 5, it won't work. So that is not 1. I'm not having that. That's a 1. And that gets me progress. I now know, look, this is a 2-7 pair all of a sudden. I can delete everything in there. It's a 2-7 pair. And that means orange is, oh, I thought orange being 9 would allow me to just fill it in. But orange is 9. Therefore, purple is 8, and I'm hoping that this is going to be important, but I might not be right. That gives me a 2-7 here. It must be important. Please be important. 2 has to be in one of those squares now. Therefore, look, 2's are sort of aligning. We can't put 2's in any of those squares or here. I think this square is a 2. Get rid of 2's from those squares. 2 is in one of those 2 positions. No, come on. It must go further than this. 6. Okay, yes, I can get 6 in this box now, because you can't put 6 on a 3-cell 8 arrow, because you can't put double 1 on it. So that square becomes a 6. So that means that square becomes a 6. Now I need 2, 3 and 5 into this row. I think we're getting there. I know it's taking a very long time. It's going to be another hour-long video. I hope you don't mind. 3, 4. This column, look, it needs a 3 and a 4 into it, into those squares. Nearly. Oh, it's so close to being. That one's better. Now I've got a 3, 4 pair in row 7, which means those 2 squares have to be a 1, 5 pair. Let's delete everything there and put 1, 5 in and have a look at that. That doesn't seem to actually, it doesn't seem to be resolved. What's gone on? How do I still don't know the colours of the blues. This is bizarre. Do I know if I know that there's a 9 looking into it? I can't assume this is an 8. I don't think. I think it could still be a 9, and this has 2 8s looking into it. Maybe that's wrong or Wrogn, but I'm not I'm not sure why it should be the case that these necessarily have to be different. Maybe at the end, if they turn out to be different, there will have been some logic that we've missed, or I've missed. Okay. So what are these squares then? These squares are 2, 3 and 4, aren't they? So they're 2, 3 and 4. That's not 4 because that's going to break this. That's not 2 because it would break the rules of Sudoku. There's a 3, 4 pair here. So this is a 1 or a 5, and now we... No. We're not doing anything. Oh, no. It's still resisting. Oh, dear. Come on. We can... What can we do? We could... yeah, there we go. There we go. We can use this. We can use this. This square can't be a 3. If that's a 3, look, this square down here has to be a 2 by the power of Sudoku. Now, the problem here is that if that's a 3, this becomes a 5, which means the 5 gets shunted onto the 8 arrow. Now, how do you make 8 in 3 cells if the 5 is one of the digits? You need a 2. It's got to be 5, 1, 2. But we've just said that 2 is going to be hypothecated into this square, where we won't want it to go. So this square can't be a 3, and that's a 5. Therefore, that's a 3. Maybe that will do more damage, or maybe it won't actually. Good grief, has it not done anything? Oh yes, it has. Look, that 3 is seeing that square. So that's now a 4. That's giving us a 4 and a 2 there. And that's getting us the 2 and the 7. So maybe we are now getting somewhere again. This 2 is nice because that... yes! Now it's really interesting because this arrow adds to 9. So that's a 9, which means it's meant to be orange. And therefore this has to be purple. This has to be purple. This has to be orange. Yes, and we can keep that going. Look, that's got to be orange. That's got to be orange. We've finally, I think, understood how to make the purples and the oranges work. So now we can do that with going 8, 8, 9, 9, 8, 8, 9, 9, 8. Like that. And these were different. Goodness, there might be some logic I've missed there. Okay, well, never mind. We can... This 3 gives us a 4, and a 3, and a 4, and a 3. I've got to put 3 in this box somewhere. To me, it looks like it has to therefore go here. This must be a 1-4 pair to make 8 work. Gosh, this is terrifying. What if this goes wrong now? 4, 1. Those look like they're a 1-2 pair. This square looks like it's a 5. That feeds through the diagonal to there. This is a 2, 3. Yeah, that could be a 2 still. Good. This must be a 1-5 pair. That gets rid of 5 from this square, look. And 4. Okay, so now we've got 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3. This has got to be 5 and 4, which we can fill in. These squares have got to be 2 and 3, and 4 goes here. That's a 5 now. This is a 5. This is a 1. Don't tell me I'm reaching a deadly pattern, please. 7 must go here. This row needs a 3 in it. That's lovely. 3 and 2. 2 and 3. This 2 is giving me the 2 and the 1. The 1 and the 5. The 5 and the 1. I've got 1 digit left. It's a 5. And it looks like it's worked. Wow. My goodness me. That is a puzzle. Click tick. Yes. I did it. What a puzzle that is. That is quite stunning. It's taken me ages. But I loved it, and it was I mean, it's brilliant. It's an extraordinary construction, that one. Eudikos, you can also take a bow, and do think about that setting video. Wow, that would be a treat, wouldn't it? Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope I wasn't too slow. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. Maybe it's worth a subscription if you're not subscribed, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.